The rain poured like a curtain that night, relentless, cold, and blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and gray. Amelia Hartwell sat inside the expensive car her driver had just parked outside the restaurant, staring at her reflection in the glass. Her makeup was perfect. Her diamond earrings sparkled like frozen tears, and her crimson lips looked like they belonged to someone confident and carefree. But inside, she was trembling. It wasn't fear of meeting someone new. She had done that 1,000 times before. It was the emptiness that came from realizing money, fame, and luxury could never fill the quiet ache of loneliness that had become her companion. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and love that finds you when you least expect it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that touch hearts around the world. Amelia's blind date had been arranged by her best friend, who thought she needed someone normal for a change. Someone who wasn't after her last name or her inheritance. The man's name was Daniel, and all Amelia knew was that he was down to earth, honest, and from out of town. She didn't know that the evening would soon take a turn that would change her life forever. When she stepped into the warm, softly lit restaurant, everything looked perfect. The kind of place where dreams of love were supposed to come true. She sat at the table reserved under her name, glancing at her phone every few minutes, hoping her blind date would walk in soon. But time dragged. Minutes became an hour. The waiter refilled her water glass twice, and the curious glances from nearby tables only made her heart sink further. Finally, a text came through. "Sorry, something came up. Rain check? Rain check." The words hit her like a cruel joke. She smiled bitterly, blinking back tears. Of course, she whispered to no one, grabbed her coat, and walked out into the storm. The rain soaked through her coat in seconds, but she didn't care. She didn't even ask the driver to follow. She just needed to walk, to breathe, to feel something real. But real found her faster than she expected. At the corner of a quiet street, a car skidded across the slick road, its headlights blinding her. Amelia froze. The screech of tires filled her ears, and then suddenly a pair of strong arms pulled her back, spinning her out of harm's way. The car whooshed past, missing her by inches. Her heart thundered in her chest. When she looked up, she saw him, rain dripping from his dark hair, his clothes drenched, but his eyes filled with concern rather than anger. "You okay, miss?" he asked softly. For a moment Amelia couldn't speak. She just nodded. Her pulse was still racing. The man helped her to a nearby awning to get out of the rain. His name was Ethan. He was tall, with the kind of rugged charm that didn't come from wealth or grooming, but from hard work and honesty. There was a calm strength about him, the kind that made her feel oddly safe. He noticed her shivering and offered his jacket, an old, worn thing that smelled faintly of rain and soap. She hesitated, then took it. As he walked her to a nearby coffee shop to warm up, she learned he wasn't from the city. He lived in a small town about 2 hours away, working as a mechanic and raising his 6-year-old daughter alone since his wife's passing 2 years ago. Something in his voice when he mentioned his daughter, that quiet mix of pain and pride, made her chest tighten. She hadn't heard that kind of love in anyone's tone in a long time, not even from the men who claimed to adore her. They spent hours talking that night, sipping hot chocolate as the rain beat softly against the glass. She told him about her failed blind date, her suffocating world of expectations and privilege, and how she sometimes wished she could just be free. He listened, really listened. And when she finished, he smiled gently and said, "Money can buy a house, but not a home. You sound like you've been searching for one." That line stayed with her long after they parted ways. Over the next few weeks, Amelia found herself thinking about Ethan constantly. She reached out to him, at first just to say thank you again, then to ask how his daughter was doing. Slowly, their conversations became longer, about life, about dreams, about pain and healing. When she visited his town for the first time, she was startled by how peaceful everything felt. There were no paparazzi, no grand mansions, just honest people living simple lives. And there, in a small house with peeling paint and laughter echoing from inside, she saw a kind of warmth she hadn't felt since childhood. Ethan's daughter, Lily, was shy at first, but when Amelia knelt down and offered her a small handmade bracelet, the girl's face lit up with pure joy. "You're pretty," Lily whispered. And that moment, that innocent kindness, melted something deep inside Amelia. For the first time, she wasn't Amelia Hartwell, heiress to the Hartwell fortune. She was just Amelia, the woman who helped bake cookies with a 6-year-old and laughed when the flour puffed everywhere. But love isn't always simple. When news of Amelia's visits reached the media, headlines exploded. Billionaire Heiress seen with small-town mechanic. The story spread like wildfire. Paparazzi swarmed his small town, reporters camped outside his garage, and even his daughter was photographed on her way to school. Amelia's world had intruded on his, and the peace he had worked so hard to build began to crumble. One night, Ethan called her and simply said, "Amelia, maybe this isn't fair to Lily. She deserves normal." His voice was steady, but she could hear the pain behind every word. She wanted to argue, to promise she'd protect them. But how could she? Her last name was a magnet for chaos. So she did the only thing she could. She let him go. The following weeks were the hardest of her life. She buried herself in charity events and corporate meetings, smiling for cameras while her heart silently broke. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the warmth of that little house, the way Lily's small hand fit into hers, the quiet gratitude in Ethan's eyes. And she knew she'd lost something far more valuable than wealth could ever replace. Then, one morning, she saw the news. A local flood had hit Ethan's town. Roads were washed out and rescue teams were working around the clock. Her chest tightened. Without thinking, she got in her car and drove. The rain came down hard again, just like the night they met. When she finally reached the town, she found Ethan helping neighbors move their belongings out of the flooded area. His clothes were soaked, his hands muddy, but he was still helping, still giving. That's who he was. When he saw her, surprise flickered across his face. "Amelia, what are you?" But before he could finish, she ran to him, tears mingling with the rain. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for all of it. I never wanted to ruin your life. I just wanted to be part of it." He looked at her for a long moment, then finally smiled, tired but warm. "You didn't ruin it. You just reminded me what love feels like." In that moment, surrounded by rain and chaos, he pulled her close. It wasn't the fairy tale kiss from her high society dreams. It was real, raw, and filled with every unspoken promise two broken people could share. After the flood, Amelia used her resources to quietly help rebuild the town. But she didn't announce it, didn't seek credit. She worked alongside everyone else, hauling supplies, painting walls, planting trees with Lily by her side. The townspeople who once looked at her with suspicion began to smile when they saw her. She wasn't the spoiled heiress from the tabloids anymore. She was family. Months later, under a sunset sky, Ethan took her hand and said softly, "You know, that blind date may have gone wrong, but maybe it led us right where we needed to be." She smiled, eyes glistening with tears. Maybe it wasn't wrong at all. As the camera fades out, the scene lingers. The small-town father, his daughter, and the woman who found her heart again, standing together in the golden light of a new beginning. If this story touched your heart, if you believe love can heal, if you believe second chances find us when we least expect them, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional, heartwarming stories to life. Thank you for watching and for believing in kindness.